It's 4:02 p.m. on January 26th. I'd like to call this meeting of the Economic Development Corporation to order. If we can do roll call to establish quorum, I'd appreciate it.
Yes. Okay. Hearing Govind, President.
Present.
Roland Gomez, Vice President.
Present.
Daniel Dan Diaz, Secretary.
Present.
Aaron Ronnie Rivera, Treasurer.
Present.
Veronica Gonzalez, Director.
Present.
Sabrina Walker Hernandez, Director.
Present.
Raul Resendez, Director.
Present.
We have quorum.
Excellent. And you can certify public notice.
Yes, notice was posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act on January 22nd at 5:15 p.m.
Excellent. Moving on to agenda item 3. Do we have anybody who registered for public comments?
We have not received a request for public comment.
Okay. Anybody who's on the call or anybody who's present, would y'all like to speak? No? All right. I will close public comments. Moving on to the director's report.
Yes, that'll be me. So we included this item on the agenda to brief the board on certain activity that's going on within the department and for the EDC and with the city. Several updates to highlight is one of them is a legislative workshop with the council will be hosted January 28th, 2021 at noon in the chambers, and it will also be live streamed, but the EDC board is welcome to provide public comment or submit a public comment for the council to listen. I can share that information with the board after the board meeting. And I don't know if Mr. Garza would like to add anything to that comment specifically.
No, again, I just wanted to make sure you guys knew about it. This is a workshop session to discuss it. We already have some preliminary priorities, but we're going to be shaping that. And then next Tuesday night, the City Council will consider a resolution just supporting those priorities. So feel free to, I know some of you individually had reached out, but just wanted to give you an opportunity to provide it publicly.
Yeah, Ron, I called the city secretary because I was interested. Is it more in-person attendance or more Zoom or a little bit of both?
We can do hybrid. The council will be in attendance. You can come in and do public comment, but you can phone in or Zoom in as well. Whatever you like.
The legislators, are they going to be in person? Do you know?
No. We kept it for we may do a second round, but we kind of purposely did it from this perspective first. So, but we've been in constant communication with them.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. What day is this again?
January 28th.
It's in 2 days.
2 days.
Thursday. Yeah, it's on Thursday at noon.
Okay.
Okay. Another update, a brief update on the audit. Staff and I are working closely with Orozco, the auditor, Mr. Orozco, and our CPA, Chris Villarreal, to ensure that we have a complete audit to present to the EDC in the February board meeting to then present to the council in the council meeting after that in March. So you will receive a survey tomorrow, a nepotism survey. So please fill that out, and then you can let me know or Leticia, she's our admin assistant, know that you have completed that so we can check your name off on that. And then a quick update on the incentive application that was also approved by the City Council in this last council meeting. And we're working on a fact sheet to attach to the application, and that will be posted up on February 1st on our website. And we'll also share that information with you February 1st along with the link. That's a quick update on that. Any other questions on the report? Or Brian, anything else that you'd like for me to highlight?
No, I don't think so. I think just to highlight maybe the current activity toward the, I guess on page 5. Yeah, we've gotten a fair number of conversations going with prospective businesses, and Blanca has provided a bullet point list there of the types of businesses that we've been in discussions with. So fairly good activity, and I think now we've got the incentive application and the forthcoming fact sheet ready here on February 1st. We expect activity to keep picking up. So we'll include this with her director's report every month, so everybody knows kind of where we are with the volume of activity here.
Any questions?
Nope. Okay. Then moving on to our regular agenda items. Agenda item A, consider the approval of the minutes for board meeting on December 16th. Has everybody had a chance to review them?
I make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I second that.
Got a motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Please raise your right hand.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. Moving on to agenda item B, consider the approval of the financial reports. Is Christian on? Oh, I see him. Okay. Christian, are you going to present them for us, please?
Yes, I am here. I had just moved to a new office, so I don't have any furniture in here, so forgive me if it echoes. I do apologize in advance.
No problem.
Thank you. All right, so for the financial reports, we're going to talk about the statement of cash receipts, disbursements, and cash balances for the unrestricted cash accounts. We have two unrestricted cash accounts, which are the operating account and the sweep account, and we have several other restricted accounts that really the only activity in there is just earning interest. Blanca, can you scoot up a little bit, the next page up? Perfect. Great. All right. So this report is broken up on a month-by-month basis. And so we've got October, November, and December. In December, we collected $548,000 in 1/2 cent sales tax revenue, $8,000 in lease payments, $1,500 in investment interest, but $1,300 of that was earned in the restricted account. So we kind of back it out because this activity is specifically talking about the unrestricted cash. Okay? So for the year-to-date, if we look over to the right, the year-to-date column, so far we've collected $1.7 million. We have a budget of $10.7 to be collected, so we're about 16% there. Cash disbursements. We have categorized our expenses in several groups: personnel expenses, contractual maintenance services, supplies, programs, and properties on this particular page. Personnel expenses, it shows that we haven't paid anything, but we have paid in this month of January. So for December, you're not going to see anything there, but the activity will show up in the next report. Contractual maintenance services, basically our overhead. We've got about $133,000 there. That $126,000 is for prior year services that we're just paying now, but we did budget for that. Supplies, very little supplies. We got reimbursed for some software. Programs, which are marketing and donations, $28,000 there. Properties, which are basically property taxes and maintenance, $72,000 there. Property taxes is a little bit less than prior years, probably because we sold some property. Next page, Blanca.
Wait, Christian, before you go on to the next page,
Yes.
On the revenue itself for Q4, how did that compare to 2019?
I can give you that data next week. I think you were asking for that, weren't you?
Yeah, so
My
if we can
apologies.
if we can have
I will
maybe
get that
one
for
column.
you. I will get that for you either tomorrow, or I can give it to the whole board, or I can give it to you next board meeting. What would you like?
I guess if you just give it to Blanca, and Blanca can send it out to us.
Okay. We'll do that.
And then we can just add it every month after that.
Yes. Sorry about that.
Appreciate it.
Okay, next page. Okay, and so projects, we don't have any much activity there yet, and debt service as well. So for the third column on the December column, you'll see that we have almost $7 million in cash and unrestricted. The information below this supplementary information is just talking about what our unrestricted cash accounts look like, and then we have our restricted cash, and we have about 4 accounts in Plains Capital. We have three accounts in Plains Capital that are restricted, but they're not earning any interest, as well as the Texas National Bank. And then our interest-bearing restricted accounts are Greater State Bank and the 2 Texar accounts. You can see that they're earning less than 1% over there. Any questions about the activity?
Yeah, Christian, this is Dan. You said on the projects there was no real movement there, but I saw the area in front of, or to the west of City Hall that we demoed. I saw it's already flat and there's gravel there.
It could be that there's that it will clear in January. It'll show up in January.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Diaz, if you remember also from the last kind of notice to proceed, the city, we would front that money and then we're going to reimburse half, but we've been able to do, so the city's doing a lot of the actual work ourselves.
Oh, nice.
So we're going to come in much lower than what we said, and I'll have a report connected to that as part of the real estate and executive.
Awesome.
Okay, so overall we have a net increase to cash of $300,000 for the month, and for the year to date we have $1.3 million of an increase in cash, in unrestricted cash. All right, next page. Okay, next page is just our quick review of our assets. If you kind of minimize that, you'll see we have $42 million in assets, with half of that being in cash and $2 million in accounts receivable. And of course, we got $7 million in fixed assets. And then, of course, we have those other assets that are in question. Next page. Total liabilities. You'll see that our total liabilities are $27.8 million. And the $14 million is the net equity of Edinburg Development Corporation. Any questions about the balance sheet? Okay. And then the next page is just real quickly summarizing the accounts receivable that's outstanding. We went ahead and added City of Edinburg in here. That's the money that we expect to receive for next month's 1.5-cent sales tax revenue. Okay, and we're continuing to invoice Santana Textiles for interest as well.
Mr. Villar, the commitment we have to the arena, is that in the numbers here already?
I'm not understanding what you're talking about commitment. Would that be a payment that we have to pay, or?
Yeah, that we have to pay. I think we're committed to $1 million a year, something like that.
I'm sorry, but I'm not familiar with that activity.
Yeah, I can provide an update, Mr. Diaz. Yeah, I'm working with our finance director, the city. They have already paid that shortfall, and they're going to invoice the EDC, and that will be reflected in the January report.
Okay.
And it was a little less than $1 million, but I'll give you that information once they send over the invoice.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Christian? Nope. Thank you, Christian. I appreciate it. If I can get a motion to approve the financial reports.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Please raise your right hand.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, moving on to agenda item C, consider the approval of the MOU with Vanguard Academy. I'm not, Ron, are you going to be presenting this one?
Yes, I'll be presenting this because this is a three-party MOU with Vanguard Academy, City of Edinburg, and the EDC. Just as a reminder, so this was in regard to building inclusive and accessible playground equipment. Series 2018 EDC bonds earmarked $1.7 million, and we had been looking at this project to kind of leverage that money for additional projects. On one side of that, which is a larger side, we are moving forward with the Capable Kids Cove, which is the water park version. I had previously presented some options regarding the secondary location. We did look at Municipal Park, but this became kind of an entertaining option when Vanguard really did kind of step up and offer certain things to help leverage those funds. Based on the last discussion we had, I know there was some concerns. Another additional perspective, I do want to say a couple things. We've done some additional due diligence, talked to other stakeholder groups, ensured that this was in no way kind of isolating or the perception of that. I do want to kind of remind the EDC board, this process of an inclusive, accessible park has really kind of opened up our strategy. I think prior to this, it was looked at to have a park with just all our playground equipment inclusive and accessible. I know this from the city's perspective, we've kind of reshaped that goal, and it is really our strategy to ensure that every single park has inclusive and accessible equipment. So instead of kind of this Capable Kid park at one area, we want to make sure everywhere is as inclusive and accessible. And we're already looking at parkland dedication funds, other funds to ensure that we keep going down that road. Something that we don't market, I don't think nearly enough, but we currently have 7 parks that have accessible and inclusive equipment. And a lot of people don't even realize that. So we need to keep pushing that, keep doing that. So do want to remind you of that. But going back to Vanguard, we kind of looked at the conditions, what they want to offer. And again, they've been, I think we definitely have to recommend this because not only are they going to help leverage this, they're dedicating the land, which is required. They're going to maintain the grounds, which really does relieve park staff. They'll work together with us to kind of set the hours. They're going to do kind of the bathroom facility, crosswalk facility, fencing. I know we talked about a concern that there's a drainage detention facility. They're going to fence to where there's not any opportunity for somebody to run into there. But they've kind of even came back and through our discussions kind of added to what they're doing. One thing that is a significant cost, and you'll see on one of the exhibits there, and there's a reason why it's blown into, you'll see the small park and you'll see the large area. If you look at the large area, which is the first snapshot, you'll see a yellow line, which is their boundary of their property, but then you'll see a blue line that encompasses the entire circumference. What that is at a minimum, is going to be an 8-foot concrete walking loop that is outside of the fence line. So it's essentially a linear park that they're dedicated to this function. So this is going to be an asset for that whole community, basically a safe place to walk. So it'll be a fence line, then outside the fence line, it'll be an 8-foot sidewalk, which is double the size of a traditional. Here in the city, we look at, on Jackson Road, we have our hike and bike trail that is much widely used. This is going to be the same kind of surface and same kind of width. So that is a pretty significant expense that they're adding to that just to create another amenity to ensure that the neighborhood feels that this is kind of a open playground. And then another thing that I was very, very pleased that they're adding to this, I think through this collaborative partnership, they are just about to recertify or replat their whole master plan of that area. And they've actually included, between the high school and other things that they're developing in that area, they're moving their administrative headquarters from the city of FAR into the city of Edinburg. And this partnership really did kind of leverage that. So they're going to be housing their administrative offices here in the city, which I think is, again, it's going to bring in additional jobs, and this is byproduct of the park. This isn't really in association with the park. It's not included in the MOU, but something that has been done at the replat, which I think is significant from an economic development standpoint. So Again, they're dedicating this land. This is a relatively short-term project. Once the EDC, if you feel comfortable approving with this, we will be taking this to the city council. They are ready to dedicate this land. We've been working with their engineering team, so this is an easy transition. We could break ground within about 60 days and probably complete this project by late spring. So by summer, this will be ready to go as a dedicated park. So again, I think they're really allowing us to leverage our own certificate of obligation dollars. We're contributing no more. It was 1.7 total, but we're contributing no more than $700,000 of that to this project, and then taking $1 million and leveraging it with city funds for the water park portion of it. So, but that is the latest that I have to report. And again, I took some of the feedback and concerns that you expressed last time, some of the questions, and just make sure that we did further due diligence to address those. So, be happy to answer any questions.
And Ron, you had said almost all equipment now is inclusive, correct? So
yeah, almost every provider has it. It's really about the installation and the foundation that you put to really enhance the inclusivity. So design elements are a big part of it. So instead of just buying, your vanilla accessible playground equipment, we'll make sure that the design is conducive to it. And this is listed in the MOU under their conditions. They're going to do additional accessible parking spots, a dedicated crosswalk, those kind of things.
And in their future plans, do they still have the park on the other side of the school that they're going to do?
They're going to do that, and they are willing to use to actually also open up because they're going to build a track, a full-fledged walking track, and in the future there'll be kind of a dedicated from that hike and bike trail portion, so that they're open to the public using it during certain hours. So having safe walking areas are at a premium. So we'll take anything we can get there.
Ron, I was going to ask you about that. I know last time we had talked about hours of operation for the park. Are those still, what were the hours of operation that people could actually access the park? Because I know school's going on for a certain time of the day.
So as long as we don't overlap, so we can technically open it up while they're in session, but we will work with their schedule to lapse any type of PE or recess. So as long as the last recess is over with, and this is going to be on the elementary side, so it'll be shorter than the kind of the junior high school side. So we're estimating that it'll be open to the public somewhere around the 2:00 hour, and then we can set the close time, and we can set that in alignment with a lot of our other parks. We can do 8, 9, or 10 p.m.
So Ron, in essence, it's almost their private property during the school hours up to about 2:00. Is
Yes.
that pretty much? So
Yeah.
that was concerns I had, that it really allowed a couple of hours, especially when the time changes 2 to 5:30, and it just I really believe it limits our kids having it in this location.
Yeah, so that is the same arrangement that we have in our city school parks, and I will say also that the school district ECISD wants to entertain 1 or 2 more of those. So that is just kind of the cost of them dedicating the land. So, and yeah, that is a significant consideration.
I'll say this too. We have there was a very similar agreement with Boys and Girls Club and the city, and it's school use, club use during the day, and then public use at night. And a lot of people truly do not use the park during the day. They use it more in the evening time. So it never really presented a major problem.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, most of the children are in school during those hours anyway. So if their parents are going to take them to the park, it's going to be after school. So it's really only those that are too young to go to school yet, or in the summertime. And I don't know if the hours change in the summertime or not, but
Yeah, during the summer they are. It would be open the entire summer, so they would be able to overlap. They'll adjust programming for the summer. Understandably, that more people would use it in the summer.
Ron, I have a question. Is that hike and bike or hike trail that's going around the school, is that going to be lighted?
So their first phase won't include lighting.
Okay.
But as they develop their other facilities, they're gonna double mark the lights, so it'll light inside and outside. So,
great.
and then we are also going to do as part of the city. So the road that I always forget the name of the road. I think it's Dawson. Yeah, Dawson Road will be cutting through there because this was something previous that Vanguard had dedicated. They dedicated the right of way to extend Dawson from Veterans all the way across. So we'll make sure that we light that also on the city side of it.
Okay. And that will be done at subdivision phase, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Ron, I have a couple questions. I've been researching the all-inclusive thing, and I'm elated that you mentioned that the parks really should be parks that are just for everybody and not really have to be labeled all-inclusive. There shouldn't be a separation. I've talked about that parrot that came up and everything, and there should just be a seamless park that is for everyone. I've also read about parks that not only for children, but parks that include adults with disabilities, veterans with disabilities, and they get very intricate. My wife's a speech pathologist, so I always hear she worked with kids for 15 years. She says some of these kids, they don't even feel anything. So some of the equipment is built so that kids won't burn themselves, because some of them will burn themselves and won't even realize they're burning themselves. I was on the Zoom meeting for the last city meeting, and the thing that concerned me was that they approved a new ground that was wood chips.
Yeah.
Is wood chips the bottom for this thing also?
So no. So this one will do the. I can't remember the surface. It's kind of a pour and play that creates a kind of soft, permeable. The wood chips, honestly, kind of even surprising to me, is certified.
Yeah. I looked it up. I researched it. Wood chips is like ADA, but minimal.
Yeah.
Minimal ADA, and I can tell you, I've pushed a wheelchair 1,000 times. You cannot push a wheelchair through wood chips.
No.
That's done gardening will know. Like, you can't do anything, and I cannot believe it's ADA, and I wish that would be replaced, because it was expensive too. I think it was like $39,000 to replace the ground with wood chips, and I'm like, I would never want that in a park because it's just not practical. And something that this is a wish list thing, and it's going to sound like I'm going off on a tangent, but it's really not. Do you know what the flooding is like in that area?
No, but I do know that they oversized the detention requirement on the one that's there, and they are doing a second detention facility on the north side. So it is a little oversized of detention.
Yeah, I said this in the Parks and Rec board years ago, but I just never gained any traction. Or maybe I just didn't have the right ears, but I've always said that every park that's built from now on should be a retention pond / park.
Yeah.
Kind of like McAllen has, big.
Yeah.
I mean, that gives you access to grants for the flooding. It's just a win-win for the neighborhood. And I just wish that all the parks that went up had that in mind, because it's just, you can use it for that.
So we are, the city's engaged right now in some detention facilities across the city, and then also looking at another concept of skate park design, and all of those look at potentially multi-purposing them.
Yeah, because this is a perfect example. We're about to build a park. Why not make it, especially if that area is prone to flooding, it's just an instant way to move that water.
So I gotta share that, with the detention facility there, I had not even considered it for this one, but I'll work with our engineering team to see if we can do an underground inlet that would drain to that detention, but serve as additional capacity. But yeah, there's nothing to say that I just don't know if we have enough room to do a nice the appropriate slope for a wheelchair. I just don't know if there's volume, but I'll look into it.
Yeah, I just wish all parks had that because we do have especially some areas. But I live by Norma Linda Trevino. There's a whole new area of a bunch of apartments, brand new.
Yeah.
And this last storm, the fire department, man, the firefighters were out there 24/7 for, I think, like almost a week. And this is a brand new park. And so right away I thought, well, we could make Norma Linda a detention pond too. But because they ran a hose from there all the way past Norma Linda
down south. Yeah.
And I'm like, another example, like I just think that all parks from now on should have that in mind. And I know there's access to funding for it that would also help offset the cost.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
But that's all I had. The equipment, to make sure it's truly all inclusive, and the ground, that it's not wood chips, man, because that's not practical. It's really
no. This one particularly will be that pour and play. Awesome.
I'm glad to hear that. I am concerned with the access, the times that my other members brought up, but that's for you guys to, I guess, try to look at it a little more. I'm glad that we brought up the feeling that initially we all thought maybe it's too exclusive and people won't want to go, but anytime somebody wants to help, it's a plus.
And again, they've been very, very flexible. I have a feeling that they would even consider kind of modifying their recess times and all that. So we'll work with them to ensure that we have the maximum expanded hours that is possible.
Thank you.
All right. Any more questions for Ron? No? I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
All those in favor of approving the MOU for Vanguard Academy, please raise your right hand and say aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, moving on to agenda item D. Consider approval of the waiver for incentive payments to Taco Palenque UTRGV. So here they experienced a hardship, and this is the reason we're asking for the waiver. But I think, or Blanca, are you going to present? Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, thank you. So we have an incentive agreement with TPRGV LLC for 2 locations. One location being Taco Palenque here on University Drive, and the second location being Palenque Grill near the shops. And both are in one agreement. So they met their first term, their first deliverable, and we're up on our second deliverable, and this is where COVID-19 happened, the pandemic, and they weren't able to meet their requirement, which was 50 full-time employees for each location, so 50 and 50. They did meet one of them, which was the Palenque Grill. They have 60 employees full-time, but the Taco Palenque here on University, they were a little short. There were 32 employees, and they provided documentation that was attached to your packet on a monthly basis pre-pandemic and then during the pandemic. So it clearly demonstrates that they were well on their way to meet their deliverable, but then the pandemic hit and they were struggling. They had to let some people go, but they were able to survive, and they, in conversation with the team here, we're recommending that we waive this term and provide them with the incentive for this year due to the pandemic. In other circumstances, we would not, but this is a very unique situation.
And what is the incentive? I'm sorry, Aaron.
Go ahead.
What was the question?
What is the incentive that they're getting?
So it's $25,000 per location.
And this was incumbent on them meeting certain requirements like the 50 employees.
Yes, that was the first installment was for $25,000 as well, and they had to submit the certificate of occupancy for each of the locations, and they did that. And on their 1-year anniversary, they were supposed to submit documentation of their payroll to ensure that they had 50 full-time employees in each location. So they did have it for one, which was a Palenque grill, but the Taco Palenque here on University, they suffered a loss there, a little bit.
Blanca, do we know if they received PPP funds?
I was going to ask that.
That is a very good question. I think we can follow up on that question.
Because if they did, there's no grounds to grant them. I guess the extra exception. They should have used that to keep the employee.
Okay.
I get a little bit on that. Like, so for someone like me, like we got PPP, but our hotels, they got hit hard. So we did rehire several, but at the end of the day, we couldn't bring back everyone because we didn't need them. If you're only renting 2 to 3 rooms a day, you don't need to have 25 staff members. So I bet you they're in a similar situation to where, they use those PPP funds to pay those staff members that they needed for a longer period of time and survive. So with that being said, I would, I know restaurants, bars, tourism industry places got hit very, very hard. So, making the exception for them this year, I feel is just like kind of goodwill gesture on our part that, so many restaurants across the board, they got crushed. So, I bet you that these funds would really help them,
But
stay
there's a
up
lot
front.
of restaurants that didn't receive anything. Mom and pops throughout the city. And just from an optics perspective, how obviously moving forward, we're going to have to consider COVID's going to be part of our nature moving forward. How do we determine, how do we play who does and who does not receive it moving forward? Is COVID always going to be used as an excuse, I guess, for us, or a determination?
I think we would have to evaluate each one on its own merits, but Blanca, are there other restaurants, because this is a kind of a larger enterprise in terms of a restaurant and how many people they employ. Are we looking at possible other waivers that are coming to us where we've offered incentives to something in the tourism industry or something that we are possibly going to have to look at waivers? Because, we will, in a sense, set a precedent here in terms of if COVID is a basis for the waiver, are we going to have to do that with many other businesses?
Yes, that was something we had discussed when we were reviewing all the documentation. But to answer your first question, we did have a request for another incentive project that we awarded 2 years ago, but they're still well within their timeline. So we allowed them to continue to try to attempt to deliver that deliverable. And then we'll revisit when their 1 year or their 2 year anniversary comes up so we can reevaluate. But so far we've only had this one and that other request, but they're still well within their term of accomplishing or meeting their deliverables.
Yeah, I was looking at the projects that are on the list. I don't know what GRH is, but the rest seem to be ones that wouldn't, quote unquote, qualify for COVID exemption because they're already built and open, or they don't have the employment requirements.
This requirement, that wasn't our board, right? That was before this board that those parameters were set. So how does that compare with our new incentive package? And because obviously Taco Palenque is a larger organization, but how do you? I'm sure the new packet addresses that, but how do we get to the number of 50? Where'd that come from?
we can't really answer that because we weren't part of the deliberations in that contract. That's just what the contract that's attached to the agenda item specified.
I see.
I don't know either, but I would have to guess they probably came about that because it's their average number at other locations. That's probably what my best guess would be.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, you bring a good point, Hiram, and so does the other board member, Raul. We have to, and like Veronica said, this sets a precedent, and there's a lot of businesses. At first I thought, man, these guys are really busy, and they are, but I know they have 3 locations, the 2 Taco Palenques and the Palenque Grill. And Palenque Grill being a little higher dining, I know they probably took a hit. But the Palenque Grill, I mean, the Taco Palenque here is always busy. There's always a line there.
And they're set to open a new one in San Juan.
Yeah. I'm all for helping businesses, but we have to be even and fair across the board. I would like to know the PPP they received because there's a lot of people that got a lot of PPP.
I will add, I believe Mr. Javier Perez Barbosa, who's our contact, is in the Zoom. So I think if the board has any questions, you can invite him.
Hi, how are you?
How are you doing, sir? So our board had a few questions. For your 2 locations that we're discussing right here, Taco Palenque on University Road and Palenque Grill at the shops, did either location receive the PPP 1.0 funding?
Really, I'm in charge of this part. I'm in charge of this, but let me check with the director of the finances, and if we have the information, I will send it to you.
Okay. Well, do you know what date each location opened up?
Excuse me?
What day they were opened?
Yes.
I don't remember.
Yeah, we have that. So they opened, Taco Palenque opened September 20th, 2019. And Palenque Grill opened December 17th, 2019.
Okay. So both of them could qualify. Because you had to be open in January of 2020 in order to qualify. Anybody have any questions for Javier?
Hey, Javier, Raul said this here. Have you seen a dramatic decrease in your gross revenues in both locations? And to what extent can you discuss what has been the shortfalls from what you predicted you were going to have or budgeted?
Raul, sorry, I don't speak English very well, and I can hear you. Could you please repeat me?
I'm sorry?
He asked it. He couldn't understand you very well, so if he could repeat the question, please.
Your gross revenues, your sales in both locations, have you seen a decline since COVID, or have those declined and ramped up again? And to what % degree are you back up?
We have the sales go down like at 30% when we started the situation. In this moment, we are trying to increase. We are in a very bad situation.
So you've increased it. Now, how many employees have you hired back since you started seeing the increases? So your parking lots are busy. Great job with that.
Yeah.
How many employees have you hired back?
Let me try to contact the person that had all of this can respond a lot of these questions. Let me check if I'll be able to connect to the meeting. Just give me
you know what we can do? How about we table this item till the next meeting, and we can get a bunch of the lists of the questions together, and then this way we can have a more we can have all the information in front of us before we make a decision.
I'm with you. I'm with you here in that I think we need to give them an opportunity to present, and speak to maybe their financial officer who has a little bit more knowledge and can bring across the message and actually show us what they're doing, because they might need some help, and we just need to, before we make any decision, make sure we talk to them and see, financially how they're doing and things. So I'm with you in tabling.
Anybody else opposed to that?
Yeah, no, I agree. And Mr. Perez Barbosa said that he's not that well savvy in English, so if somebody could just say it in Spanish, I don't mind saying it also, so that he can understand it, so we're all just on the same page. Anybody opposed to that?
No, go for it, Dan.
Okay. Señor Pérez Barbosa, ¿habla español?
Sí, hablo español.
Sí, ok. So, aquí todos estamos hablando de sus restaurantes y vamos a darle chance a hablar con su gente, que sepa los números, porque tenemos unas preguntas. Con la ciudad les vamos a decir la información que necesitamos para que podamos hacer una decisión informada, ¿ok? Y básicamente es lo que estamos preguntándole ahorita y vamos a votar en eso. ¿Usted tiene alguna pregunta para todos aquí?
No. Estoy tratando de localizar a la gente que tiene la información para ver si se pueden conectar.
Sí, pues no hay prisa, señor, porque no le estamos negando lo que pide, le estamos dando tiempo para darnos la información. Es todo lo que está pasando.
Ok.
¿Ok? ¿Está de acuerdo?
Sí, estoy de acuerdo.
So I just told them, guys, that well, who doesn't speak Spanish? Raise your hand. There you go, Iron. So I just told them that we just want more information. We're going to give him time to gather the information. He's saying he can get somebody on the phone right away. I said, no, we want to give you time to present it so that we can make an informed decision.
I don't speak, but I understand, so I just wanted you to explain it anyways.
I should have done I should have translated like the boxing guys, right? Because they never say the same thing. Pero Barbosa, le dije, mejor hago la traducción como en los boxeos, nunca dicen lo mismo, pero sí entendió. Okay. ¿Alguna pregunta que tiene para el board?
No, muchas gracias, no tengo ninguna pregunta.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Omar, do we need to make a motion to table, or how does that work?
You can either make a motion to table, or you can just pass on the item, whatever the board prefers.
We'll just pass on it, and then we can add it to next month, just to make it faster.
Hey, Blanca, and he wasn't on right when we were all talking, because I didn't know he was there initially.
He came in a little bit after.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone had legitimate questions. That's the whole point of this, right? Okay, so moving on to agenda item C, consider authorizing.
You need a motion there, Fred.
Oh, I thought we were just going to pass. Omar said we can just pass on it and put it on next month. Yep. Consider authorizing the city manager economic development staff to negotiate entering into an agreement with DCI, Development Counselors International. Do we have them to do a presentation, Blanca?
No, we need to complete the procurement process before we can invite them to present to the board or to the council. Sorry.
Oh, I thought they were going to present today.
Blanca, I have a question. And this relates, this would be kind of in regard to what they're presenting. The chamber is also working on having an Explore Edinburg, or I guess we're going to call it ETEX. And it would be nice if it was all in alignment with what the city is doing on their website. And so whoever it is that's chosen to do the work for the city or the EDC, can we see if there can be an additional quote that they could provide to the chamber so that we could look at possibly then using the same company? And that way we stay and it would look actually, very similar, but yet can focus on different things that are
You must have done something different. Think about what you did different. That's what it is.
Dan, you're not on mute.
I just muted.
Veronica, I can address that. So we've been coordinating. So one company is helping us create this the ETX, and then obviously this decision here for the economic development specific. But I will utilize the city's IT department to kind of build the bridge. But you're exactly right. We need from a marketing standpoint and a one click away kind of philosophy. There needs to be very clear. So, so even on the chamber website, we'll have splash pages on all three. So, for economic development opportunities, click here, something like that. So, but that's something that I think we can do in-house with the IT department to help build that bridge and then save some money as well.
That would be great, because we actually had our chamber meeting this week, and we were talking about hiring a company to do the site. And so this, having read this, it makes more sense, of course, to use the same company or to use IT to develop the site for the chamber and save costs, and also just to stay in alignment, because I think it'll look so much cleaner that way. Sure. If we're all singing from the same hymn book, but just using different focuses depending on what our entity is.
Yeah. So to be real clear, so our IT department will build this kind of bridge. But and then the ETX, we're using city funds to build that, then turn that over to the chamber. But if the traditional chamber website wants to be revised, then we could just later have them kind of attached to this in some form or fashion. But I think we need to kind of take a series of steps first. But I'm more than okay with seeing how far we can get with our own IT department and bridging them. And then if the chamber independently decides, okay, now we need a redesign of our final piece, then obviously you can procure that portion.
Okay.
And if I can add, in our presentations, that was one of the questions that we asked, how well the firm can work with our IT department, but also with the chamber and other different pages that we have, like the ETX or the city website and the chamber website. And that was also included in the RFP. It was one of the bullet points. So they are aware that, yes, we're looking into that as well.
Okay. I know one of the questions that had come up when we were talking about different companies for the chamber is whether or not we would actually own the product that they produce, or whether they would retain the rights. And so I think people were mentioning how important it is to be able to own the product yourself. Is that something that would be part of this package with this group?
Yeah, Omar, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe our standard procurement policy is for the city to take ownership of all deliverables.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, that is also outlined in the RFP when it's published.
Okay.
Blanca, do you have the PDF or that presentation that they provided us, just so everyone can kind of take a look at the quality of the work? My apologies, everyone. I thought that they were going to present to the board today. So I'll give you a little rundown of what we did. Was the RFP went out, 8 came back. We had people from right here down the street from us in the valley to all the way to Canada submit RFP. I believe myself, Sabrina, Blanca, and a few of the individuals got to kind of quote unquote rank them. Then we did a cumulative score, ranked them, and then out of the top 3, we let them present to us. And then based on those presentations, we re-ranked and chose this group. I will say this company is not local. They are from New York City. But they are the only ones that actually went out and made a presentation for Edinburg. All the other ones just presented on what they do and how they do it and what they've done in other cities. These guys actually came with a simple SWOT analysis, just kind of on what they found, and presented it to us. And it was really nice that they did that. and this is kind of the presentation that they provided us. And one thing that stood out to us was that they represent the Texas Economic Development Corporation, as well as several other large cities, not only in Texas, but throughout the country. And I believe they represent some countries as well. On their team, most of us liked that they had all age groups. They had a wide variety of people, and this is just what our team would look like. But they have a total of 50 plus odd employees, if I'm not mistaken. They're also the one that gave us the most detailed timeline on how things would work. They're ones that said that they're going to ask us for stakeholders in the community and ask us which ones they would what we felt was a priority, and they would speak to those groups and use data based on that to create the marketing campaign. Sorry, I'm just talking here. I'm sure y'all got questions.
These are just examples.
Looks very professional, Heron, and it is good that they actually gave you kind of a sample of what they'd like to highlight, because that's kind of like what you want to see is what their work looks like. So I think we have all the confidence in you and the rest of the team that evaluated it, but I'm sure they're not cheap. I think I saw somewhere $100,000 or something for them to do the work. And I was wondering too, if whatever they deliver to us, will they deliver it will they also translate it to Spanish, for instance, if people wanted to be able to get on there and do it, or will we need to pay to have somebody do that?
So the bilingual is part of the package, if I'm not mistaken, Blanca. I can't remember. I know one for sure had all of them, like they had everything in bilingual. I believe these guys address the same.
Yes, I think that's something that can be discussed in the negotiation phase. I know the other firms that presented were very keen on that we're a border and like a region and the border, so they were very aware of that. But I mean, just the fact that they work in Texas, I think they are aware of our region and who we are. So yeah, I think that could be discussed in the negotiation phases, unless there's something else that we could add, Brian.
Just the point about the contract negotiation. I've got a list of 4 or 5 things we could discuss, including sort of the order of priorities and the scope. So we'll give you all an update once we have that kind of final game plan established for the next, I don't know, 9 months here, whatever we're going to try to get them down to.
Hey, Brian, have they done work where they do consolidate the city, the Economic Development Board, and the Chamber? Have they done that? Where they do one project for 3 entities in an attempt to I guess, garner full attention to each one and not water down one or the other?
Yeah.
There's different business propositions in the 3 entities.
Yeah, we're going to have to kind of carefully manage that, because everybody sort of has their own value proposition in that equation. So we want to make sure that, they're all aligned, and we're kind of creating, the impression of one united front for the city. But, you don't want to force consolidation where it may not be appropriate. So we're gonna have to kind of talk that through with them. I'm familiar with this company. They've been in this field a long time, and they're very used to dealing with public-private partnership groups that have, everybody from local governments to corporations to big nonprofits to family foundations, all on the same board, and trying to herd all those cats into, trying to do something like this. So I've got confidence that we'll be able to make that happen in a way that works for everybody.
Thank you.
Guys, so this DCI, it's break it down for me, Hiram. It's they create an awesome website, or what exactly do they do? Because I hear you saying that they'll also talk to any potential investors.
So it's kind of creating an entire sales and marketing campaign for our EDC. So, like, let's say, Brian and Blanca are trying to entice, I don't know, a big company to come down. They'll have a packet with collateral and things like that. Say, hey, these are the reasons you want to be here. These are the interests here, the reasons why it's beneficial for your company, etc. But it's going to also be the website, the collateral. It's the whole thing mixed together as an entire campaign. There's social media. There's there's search engine optimization. It's basically rebranding the EDC, and at the same time, kind of going through and looking at how the city's doing things and rebranding us all together.
Okay, and the company that we paid to study Edinburg and suggest businesses, that's all they do on that end? Because I know we did pay for someone to do that.
So yeah, are you referring to the Buxton folks?
Yes.
Out of Fort Worth? Yeah. So remember, that's only geared toward retail and restaurants. So that had a very kind of narrow scope to the kinds of opportunities they were on the hook to identify for. So what we're thinking here is the problem right now is that we've gotten through this transition. Blanca and I can get on the phone and talk to people like we're doing with these 6 or 7 prospects we have right now, and we've got nowhere to send people for follow-up. we don't have a fully functioning website yet. We don't have collateral really to share with people for follow-up. So, that's what we're looking to this company to help us with. And then conceptually, I think this is kind of top of mind for me, just being here 6 months or 8 months now. I'm really going to be looking to them to help us articulate our sort of local value proposition versus the region as a whole, right? I mean, this is a very kind of delicate balancing act when you talk about regional economic development. I mean, we as the Valley have a lot of strengths together. What people I think might be less familiar with, especially from outside of this region, is how Edinburg differs from McAllen, differs from FAR, differs from other communities within the Valley. And that's really what I think we're going to lean on this firm to help us define.
Brian, I have a question for you. Do you know if they've represented any other cities along the border, the United States, that have kind of a mixture of people like we do?
Blanca's got their client list. I know she showed that a second ago. I don't know if you want to pull that back up.
I know there was a few of them. I don't know if that's their total client list, but yeah, I'd like to know that.
Yeah, we can. I don't know if you want to look at that back on the screen again, but we can certainly ask them for a full client list and send that to y'all.
Right. So I know for sure that they're familiar with Brownsville because if you look at the Texas Economic Development Corporation page, if you go back one more slide there, Blanca, it shows SpaceX. It actually shows there it is right there. That's Brownsville in the background there. So I'd asked them about it, like, yeah, so on that, they take all the major economic development things in the entire state. So I'm assuming they have to have something from El Paso on there. And if you look at their main website, it's broken into 4 regions, north, south, east, west. So in order to develop, I'm sure that site, they probably went to the larger cities. In our area is probably Brownsville, Corpus, El Paso, Laredo is probably where they spoke to most of the people. But I'm willing to bet that they're going to cross-reference both in order to get the max out of their, studies.
Okay.
I know they have an impressive client list, but what do they have a list of who they actually brought into town or who they have relationships with? Because the Buxton people also are able to bring people in to us. I know we don't have the website access, but is our contract with them done? It was just a one report and one and done, and that's it?
So let me clarify the scope here. This DCI, this is just a marketing company.
Yeah.
They are not involved in economic development practice at all. So they will develop all this collateral for us, hand it over, and then go away. Buxton, so we're still under contract with them, and the promise we have from them is whenever we're ready, they are, and it's kind of a strange time to go heavy on the recruitment front for retail and restaurants, but they are, if you remember, they've got those kind of package reports that they developed after they identified which retailers and which restaurants to go after.
Right.
And so they have told us that as part of our continued relationship with them, they are happy to help us reach out to any of those targets that we want to.
But I thought somebody said that they would talk to businesses for us. I heard somebody say that.
That this company DCI will not do that now.
Yeah, no. So yeah, it's basically they're giving you all the tools and making us look better. So whenever Brian and Blanca, are courting quote unquote businesses, they have all of it in one. It's basically rebranding us as a whole.
So that includes I guess brochures that you could have in hand. It includes website. It includes social media, types of postings that you want to do. All that stuff, basically, you're given a package, and then they're saying this is how we think you best sell yourself out to prospective businesses. And then we have to go out and do, of course, the legwork, right?
Right.
PC. Okay.
That is correct. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
I do. I kind of want to go back to what Veronica was asking earlier about the translation of Spanish and English and the different languages and stuff. It'd be important to see if they've done other websites and things for Border City. That's what I want to know, and see what kind of work they've done for them, and see how successful they've been there. Because at some point we're going to start having a look at Mexico again. I think they're not as nervous as they were before. And I think that could be a good target that we can't forget about, bringing in some Mexican investors to create some businesses in the area.
And we can definitely make that as a priority. And they were pretty open to suggestions. They basically asked every single one of us what we felt was the most important and what would be considered a quote unquote win. And mine was changing our image from a war-torn border town to a thriving community. It was one of the things, and she's like, okay. And then I also highlighting us as a city having the largest revenue generators all under one roof of any city in South Texas. We have UTRGV, we have DHR, South Texas Health Systems, we have the county seat, the arena, we have the soccer stadium, I don't know of any city in South Texas that has 5 of those things, in one city limit. So those are kind of things I was looking at. So, and then all of us kind of had our own perspective, and they took a bunch of those notes down, which was, I thought it was refreshing. But they were pretty amiable to hey, what do you want? And that's what you're going to do. You're going to get what you want.
And those are things that we can ensure that present themselves on the scope of the contract, of the final contract, because the scope is still, a little bit fluid. So we can ensure that that's part of it.
Yeah. So this is just the approval to enter in, to start negotiations, and then we would then approve the final contract. That is correct, right? Sorry, Ron, you're on mute.
Generally, the way you'd like to do it, we know that time is of an essence here. So at the city council level, that final contract has to be presented upon approval. So we can do a couple of things. We can enter into the agreement, then bring this scope back in February, then take it to the council in March, and then we move forward at that point. Or based on these feedbacks, we can ensure that the scope is in there, move forward with them, and at either the next council meeting on the 2nd or the one right after that, get their final stamp of approval so we can start getting to work. So it's whatever the will of the board is.
I have a question. The Edinburg Chamber doesn't have anything like this or access to this type of marketing. Tell me what sold you on it, Aaron.
To be honest, I think the chamber computers are like 11 years old. They don't have, like, you know, Roddy hasn't had very many staff members or pretty much a large enough budget over the years to do something like this. And to be honest, what's really sold me on it was their scope of work from other cities. I went to a bunch of their websites, you know, try to look around. You know, the top 3, I kind of went down and saw what's the best of the best. And these were the most dynamic. And her presentation actually made me like them better. Like after they presented, it made them more likable, I guess, as a firm. And they're literally the only ones that said, "Hey, we looked at this site and from Edinburg, and we saw this in Edinburg, we saw this in Edinburg, but what you're lacking, you know, videos and pictures." And they kind of she gave us a quick SWOT analysis, and I was like, whoa, like none of the other ones said, "Hey, Edinburgh's good at this, bad at this, need this." That's what sold me.
I was like, wow, that sounds good. And then I heard $100,000. I was like, whoa. And then I thought, so just to play devil's advocate, I'm like, man, what about nobody knows our area better than us. So right away I start thinking, why not a collaboration with UTRGV, a marketing department, where we can, you know, actually put this together. They've got all the, you know, they've got the programs, they got the students. If the chamber doesn't have that, why couldn't we spend half of that and really market ourselves? Veronica?
Well,
I don't want to commit people in our departments to do anything at this point because I don't know what they're capable of or not. But I can tell you that with COVID, it's really shaken up a lot of the ability to do. They're teaching and they're getting the curriculum all together to get a project like this. I mean, of this significance, where you want it quickly and you want it professional and you want it. You know, one of the things I liked about this firm is they did City of San Marcos, which is my hometown, but I liked it because it's a college town, just like we are here, and so they understand what's
they've already done the groundwork. Yeah.
You know, San Marcos attracted a whole retail group that had not been there, all the outlet malls and all that stuff, and I think one of the appealing things was they had a university community that was willing to spend some money and that was going to, you know, be available to. So it brought business, but it's how you sell it. We all know that. It's how you market yourself. And so while, yeah, we have some great professors that teach marketing, you know, these people are out there in that actual world of putting together the packages for cities so that you can put your best foot forward and attract business. And so I just wouldn't want anything that would delay it. And I know COVID's been a huge impediment for us in many ways. You know, it's not that it wouldn't, we couldn't approach them, but I'm just telling you that I think this is a very professional company from everything I've seen, and they know what they're doing. So if the money is there, and if the city really wants to revamp how we look, need to see
the brand, yeah.
Hey, Aaron, did they offer any supporting data of them creating something for whatever particular city prior to them going in, and then after they prescribed their focus on marketing, what occurred, either attraction of business, population increase, business development, new stores opening, any supporting data that they could offer?
Any stats?
Blanca, I know that they gave some. I don't remember the exact number. Sorry, we saw a bunch of people at the same time. So there was one that offered like were they the one that said they had a 300% increase, or was that the Canadian firm? I can't remember off the top of my head, but sorry, one more time.
I think that was the Canadian firm.
That was a Canadian. So I know that each one of them had given us, said, hey, look, they're doing this. This came in afterwards. They gave us a before and after. I don't remember the exact numbers, but we can definitely ask them for that. And then speaking to the locals, we had 2 local firms that did submit, but to be honest, they were by far the least experienced, and their presentations were actually the least of all of them. As far as I was actually kind of disappointed in our locals. I ain't gonna lie to you. I was like, wow. I was like, they just said, okay, we did a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It felt like they thought that they were going to get it just because they were locals. To be honest, they didn't try hard enough.
I think Ron had a good suggestion in that kind of letting them know our concerns, and that way the next time we talk to them, they've kind of gave us some answers on what concerns us with this, and we can probably make a decision.
And or at least a presentation too, because I'm trying to get the whole picture of it all.
So once we get all this information from this company, who's going to be distributing the information out? Is that going to be our media department in the city, or is that going to fall under Brian and Blanca to send everything out?
It's both. It's one of the benefits in the staffing agreement and the way you all set that up with the city. Because that's my job, that's Blanca's job, that's Blanca's team's job, and you've got access to our whole communications group.
Okay.
So yeah, it's going to be a combination of everybody.
Great, excellent.
And on the price, actually, the other ones that we had suggested, they were either in the same range or they gave a much lower price, and then a la carted everything. And if we totaled it up manually, it would be just about the same price. As far as the ones that were competing at the top that filled out the RFP fully, etc. So roughly the range was between 90,000 and 110. And on this one, on our web service hosting, we should be getting either they're going to subtract it because our city is going to be hosting it, or we'll get something in replace of those $8,000 or $10,000, if I'm not mistaken, something like that.
I will say from a staffing perspective, this landing page and this collateral is the most important tool that the staff will use. Probably, I won't put a percentage, but a very high percentage of companies are already strongly leaning towards your city without ever talking to one of our staff. And all that's based on the information in the package we present and make available, which right now we have zero. We have nothing we have a little bit, but it's nowhere where we need to be. So this is our image before they pick up the phone or, from their side. And then this is the reference when Blanca, Brian, and I make contact the other way. This is the follow-up. This is the stats. This is your number one attractor.
And I can see this being used. Sorry, go ahead.
Hey, Ron, will they be responsible for administering the site as well when there's refreshes, or what happens next year when we need to add something? And is that another fee, an ongoing fee on a yearly basis, or does this 100,000 give us a good 3 to 5 year look back period in terms of what we need to either recreate or take out or add or what have you, based on the usage or viability of what's in there?
It's being turned over to us, and so they're building it on WordPress, and so we'll have access to the content management system, and staff will be able to update and refresh everything with our IT staff here.
And this includes a monthly, I think, collaboration, I don't know the exact word, but every month for 12 months is included also in this. So if we need a refresh, change, adjust accordingly. And we had asked, like, hey, what if we want to change this or add this? And she's like, look, we're going to be pretty flexible on these kind of things. We're not going to nickel and dime you, those are exact words.
Well, I like that they're reputable, to be quite honest, because a lot of times when you have people that are creating marketing campaigns or even websites and stuff, they all of a sudden they're gone, they disappear, and you think, well, okay, wait a minute, we're in the middle of our product being created, or we had just finished it, and now we want to adjust it or amend it, as you were mentioning, Raul, and you can't find the person to do it, or you don't own the product, and so you can't do it yourself. Here we would own the product, we'd be able to amend it as needed, and then we would, from what you're saying here, and they would stay on board to be kind of a consultant, I guess, for 12 months to adjust as needed. I mean, that's all, to me, is very, very valuable in terms of getting the image you want created for your city. And then even commercials can be built upon the information they provide, which, the city's media department can do that and establish a really nice piece. You see it for small cities all the time, where they've created commercials that sell really well, because part of the buy-in is your own community saying, we love where we're living, and even people in other parts of the valley that might say, hey, you know what, I want to move to Edinburg. So we can't go cheap on this deal if we want it to be top notch.
Are the three entities splitting the cost, Aaron?
No, this is just for the EDC side, and then what Veronica was speaking to is that if they were going to add some proponents, because they were going to looking to hire locals to do get the pictures for them and the videos for them that they needed. So at that point, we could start merging in some of the other stuff, and then those costs would be shared with the chamber and et cetera. But as far as this thing, we're looking for them to bring in, create a package specifically for economic development. And then if we wanted the city to piggyback and the chamber to piggyback, those would be basically on them, to pay.
If I may add, Heron, because I was also part of the evaluation committee, what attracted me from the top three firms, but specifically DCI, is the level of experience, the economic development experience that they have. And the staff perspective for myself and our team and Brian, we could really lean on a thought partner that has experience with site selectors and how to market the EDC in a different way than all the other 42 cities, right, that are in the RGV. We really want to stand out. So that's what attracted me to DCI. It was very impressive. They were the only ones, as Heron said, that really took the time to look into our city and ask what success looks like for us after the 1 year that we're planning for, after the 12 months. So I thought that was very thoughtful in taking note that, what we really want to look at as a product, right, as an end product, to really lift our city and capture the essence of our community and our culture and our business culture too, right? So that's what sold me. I don't know if that helps any, my 2 cents.
Just from an outside thinking out loud, is there an opportunity to sublet some of the pricing where we, from a commercial perspective, and even DHR and UTRGV and hotels that we highlight? I'll give you an example. A realtor approached me, and she's doing her binders and all that to give up to the title companies, and she asked me if I would pay a little bit of a brochure. I said absolutely, and I'm the insurance person of choice for her booklet. Is there an opportunity for us to approach DHR, UTRGV, a hotel, to kind of highlight them and then pay some of the costs associated with this?
So I think you're looking at two different things. So we're not trying to help. I don't want to say it bad like this, but we're not trying to generate revenue for the current businesses like the chamber or would do locally. We're trying to bring attract our to a new big company coming in, Tesla. I'm just using them as an example. Say, hey, look, this is what we have to offer in our city, and these are the things that are here.
Right, but generally, what we're going to do, we're going to highlight the same ones: UTRGV, DHR. We tend to highlight the same things over and over, which is great marketing for them. that comes at a price. You know, that's free publicity. Is there a way to help with the funding of it? Just a question. I'm not saying we have to do it. I'm just saying, if I'm a company, I would love to be on my economic development video. I mean, why wouldn't I not want to be? And pay for it, since I'm budgeting monies for it from a marketing perspective.
Yeah,
Just a question.
I see what you're saying, Raul, but I think the things you're mentioning, they actually help us bring business in versus charging them to.
Yeah, it's like we're using them to.
We're using them, yeah. I will add that I finally got to open up the packet here. Our marketing budget is $100,000 a year, so this would probably eat it all up. Just
completely.
Already budgeted, but it would take it all. Just.
Yeah. And that was my point when I saw that as well. That takes out $100,000. I'm just looking for a subsidy. I'm not saying pay for it all. So, you know, I'm sure the Bert Ogdens of the world and those folks would love to be and pay for it.
Yeah, I after hearing everybody, I like the idea, guys, and I do trust committee that was there and the staff's recommendation. I would love to see a split EED and city, because you know they kind of go hand in hand, so we can still have a little bit of our budget left. But I like it. That's my 2 cents.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? And I understand that it's eating up, the majority of our budget, but I guess this is what we're hiring them for, is to do all the marketing, get all of our marketing and stuff together, so we have one unified, voice and platform in all areas. So that was the reason why we set the budget at $100,000, and then it'll basically get us through the end of our entire year for this one item.
So let me ask. We go with this, and our budget's already met for marketing. We land some big fish somewhere in Atlanta, Georgia, goes to go seal the deal, and isn't that part of the marketing budget also?
Hey, Blanca, can you clarify the budget? I'm looking at it right now, and I see $200,000. Am I wrong?
Yes. So the total marketing budget is $200,000, but what was budgeted for this marketing effort, rebranding, is up to $100,000.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so I'm mistaken as well. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's the plan, Brian. These guys land a big fish, and then somebody goes out there to reel them in or shake their hand, or what happens then?
Yeah, I mean, so that's on staff, right? I mean, that's our responsibility, and I hope board members, if you all are willing to help with that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, the way to think of this is just this is giving us the tools we need to go do that work.
Yeah, DCI is a Swiss Army knife, and Brian and Blanc are the ninjas.
And Dan, that's a good question. I mean, and the other thing about those kind of really big opportunities, we're sitting on $7 million of unrestricted cash.
Yeah.
So every time we always want to be careful, right? But I'm fairly confident we have the resources to do what we're going to need to do.
Every time I hear Elon Musk, Tesla, I have a little tear in my heart, because as soon as I read that he was wanted out of California, I texted a few of the board members. I'm like, somebody needs to be on a plane giving his mom a bouquet of roses, and at his front door, like, hey, Elon Musk Airport, Elon Musk Industrial Park. I'm like, somebody who's going to do it? Who's going to do it? So
I think he already had Austin secured, because he owned the land already. No, I think it was more of a political ploy.
We are gone there.
I have a question for Veronica and Hiram. I was driving from Monterey back towards Edinburg yesterday, and I saw a sign from Mercedes. Okay, visit Mercedes up near Monterey. There was another one from Wesico. Whose budget do you think that comes out of? Do you think it would be EDC or the chambers of their prospective cities? What do you think with your experience with the chambers?
In Edinburg, it's the chamber.
It's a chamber, okay.
I know that the EDC funded an office in Monterrey probably about 20 years ago, and it brought a lot of people this way. But I think it got axed many years ago. But the EDC actually had an office in Monterrey, Mexico, to attract people here.
Okay.
I guess I'm a little bit biased in that scenario. Every city in the valley spends money in Mexico, and all the people coming know we're here. So I like focusing north and all the other 50 states all the way to Canada, because no one markets to those guys. So I'd rather go where people aren't marketing, and I've had good success that way, like calling businesses that are coming to this area. It's like, hey, no one's ever approached us, and that's the reason they chose to stay in Edinburg, as far as my personal experience.
But Hiram, understand that it's that consumer base that makes some of our businesses number one in the nation. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. We got to also not forget them, because that's what makes us unique, and we have a whole other consumer base that comes in.
Well, and one of the things that I think that if we've got great product from them, and you can use it in different ways. I mean, I like the idea also of advertising at the airports, because people that are coming into town or flying in, when they arrive, you want them to see that your city is, because business people come all the time, right? So I know we have a very large UTRGV sign at the Harlingen airport. So when you get there, that's what you see. We want to recruit from all over, right? And same thing in McAllen. You want to make sure that when you get to the airport, it's not just McAllen they see, but it's Edinburg and some of the other cities that are advertising. So I think once we have a professional product, we can decide strategically where do we want to put it. If we want to use it on a billboard, if we want to use it at the airport, if we want to use it in social media campaign, whatever we want to do with it, we want that product to look the best it can, not just somebody that's hired that goes out and takes pictures of things locally and post them up on a website, because that's what I'm afraid might happen with some of these other companies. So again, I didn't interview these guys, but from what I saw and what Aaron was talking about, it just looks extremely professional, and they've done it for so many cities and for EDCs.
My question was, and I think I didn't say it right, but it was about the marketing budget that we've got. Not specifically Mexico having signs there, but anywhere like what you're saying, your idea on the airport. Whose budget does that usually come out of? Is it the chambers or the EDCs? And that's basically my question.
So I think in the past, here in Edinburg, all three of us did it. But now with Ron on board, he's creating that ETX site. He's trying to make sure that we don't spend $3 when we can spend $1. So he's slowly piecing it together to where, EDC does this, okay, Chamber doesn't need to spend money there. Chamber, you go spend money there on something else, so it's going to add value. City, you go spend money here, so it adds value. So all three of us are spending our money separately, but coming to one common goal. But in the past, it was the Chamber and the City, and probably the EDC too. Ron's really doing one of these now. Instead of
$100,000 doesn't seem very much, for marketing. But to me, for a city, and I guess going with what Brian said, we've got some money that we need to rethink and see what we can do to bring to help us. Get some tools.
Yeah. So this would just be our portion. The city still has theirs, and the Chamber still has theirs. So I believe we can combine the forces and make sure that we all bring something good to the table.
All right.
I like it.
Anybody else? So I know Ron had posed two different scenarios. Scenario one is that we approve the negotiations, and based on our questions, comments, and concerns, they would add those to the contract and take it to the city. I think February 2nd is a little ambitious, but the second meeting I think is February 16th or 18th in February. Is it?
Yeah, February 16th. Yeah.
February 16th. So they would take it to on the 16th, the final contract, and get it approved. That's step one. Step two would be them going to them, get the information, come back to us, and then we approve it, and then it would go to the city. What would the following meeting be after that?
Well, we probably put out the first one in March. If you were going to do it at the next regular EDC board meeting.
So, I believe, and I trust, Blanca, Brian, and Ron to, really address our concerns and put it in there so it can get approved on the 16th meeting. Because I think the goal was to start as soon as possible to really get things going. I know the website was a main concern, but it's probably going to still take them 3 to 4 months to really come with a good campaign. And we get one big, wow factor launch with everything covered by the time they do all the interviews, meetings, and etc. I don't know if anybody has any.
I'm for continuing or starting the negotiations, and I know I know Ron and Brian will give some of our concerns, and they'll be addressed. But I have faith in that. I like what you said. I mean, their marketing was good enough to attract you and everybody else on the board, so I think that they're off to a good start.
So make the motion, Ron.
Is this an action item, Hiram?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
So I basically need a motion authorizing the city manager and the staff to negotiate into a contract with Development Counselors International, also known as DCI.
I'll make that motion.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. To be clear, you have on the agenda here not just to negotiate, but to enter into. So
I meant to enter
right. So, enter into. It's up to the board to determine whether they want to authorize to enter into the contract as well. But I think that should be clear one way or another in the motion.
Okay. So motion to approve agenda item E as presented. Is that correct, Omar?
Yeah, that would cover the ability for staff to agree to the final terms and then take that to City Council in the February 16th meeting.
Okay.
So before we do that, I have another question. Who's going to approve the content or what's in the website and all the information that they're going to be using for marketing? Who will be approving that information there? Brian?
So, obviously we would serve as the project manager for this, but we would look for board feedback along the way and participation along the way. So in the scope of work, we'll probably pin a few kind of milestone presentations to the board so they can come and get feedback from you all. But yeah, staff will be, it'll be our responsibility as project manager.
Okay. That's good enough for me then.
And the way they have it, they collect the data and then they bring something and they kind of like come back and say, okay, this is what we did for this section, and then they'll move on to the next section and kind of do the same thing. So you're always up to date on where they're at.
What's the term of the contract, guys? Because I don't see anything.
12 months.
Yeah, they had it for 12 months. I want to through the negotiations try to condense it a little bit. I think staff's in a little bit more of a hurry, especially just on the website. And so that part of the discussion of the scope is we're going to get into that with them a little bit.
So, Brian, in your opinion and other staff, the pandemic has not lessened the phone calls to the office and interest. So you're saying, hey, let's get this up as fast as possible because the interest is there even today.
Yes. Yeah. There is, and in some respects, and it just kind of differs depending on who you're talking to. But I've heard it several times that there are companies that are now kind of ramping up more of their research right now because they don't necessarily want to move immediately on anything, but they want to be ready for when they are.
Yeah,
So
that's what I was
now's not the
thinking.
time.
Yeah, I was thinking like, well, you know what? I don't know if it happens now, but as things get better in the next few months with all the vaccines and everything, then yeah, we got to be ready.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking to. I mean, I think there were 6 or 7 prospects on the list from Blanca's director's report.
Wow.
And if we're doing that now without anything,
Yeah.
it's gonna ramp up.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Perfect. So I'll entertain a motion to approve agenda item E as presented.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor? A second and a third. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Please raise your right hand. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, moving on to executive session. I'll entertain a motion to enter into executive.
I'll make a motion to enter into executive.
A second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Please raise your right hand. Any opposed, same sign. It is 5:43 p.m. and we'll be entering into executive.
I will pause the recording and move some people out into the waiting room.
So since everybody heard me anyway, during the meeting, my wife comes up, says she's standing next to me. She's like, I'm having palpitations.
Veronica's office is telling her to leave.
It's crazy how quickly the light.
Yeah, still no response. Sorry. 1 second. Okay, they're ready.
All right, doing the countdown.
That's fine.
That's fine? Okay. Okay, I'm going to start.
All right, it is 6:10 p.m. I'll entertain a motion to re-enter open session.
I make a motion to re-enter open session.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Please raise your right hand. All right, it is 6:11, and we're re-entering open session. I'd like to entertain a motion for staff to proceed as discussed in executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Please raise your right hand. Aye. Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Is there any other business that needs to be discussed? No. Then I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn.
And second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it.
Good evening, everyone.
Okay, y'all have a good night.
Good night.
Only at 11.